Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Market has a little rally going on here over the course of the last 3 hours. Bottomed here around 4:30 in the morning, and we've rallied straight up 12 points here, Joel.
Yeah, a couple good earnings coming out. Things continuing as usual. Really only one number to talk about in the SPOOs this morning. 1561 was yesterday's high. We are trading above that level. We hold that level. We're poised to test the 5 and 6 day highs right around 1570.
Your buddy Netflix reported earnings last night. They beat big time. Stock up huge here this morning. Wow, this stock, will it ever go down again? It just every time it reports earnings, it seems to rally 40 points. It does it again. $216.84 where it's trading right now after closing at 174.37. Reported earnings of 31 cents against estimates of 18 cents. Valuation doesn't matter. It's all about sentiment here, and the sentiment on Netflix is good.
Yeah, I guess me canceling my subscription last quarter really didn't affect the stock that much. Got to pop up to 222, believe it or not. Triple twos is the high. Since making the high off the triple two level, we've dipped to 212.82. I would use those as parameters in the stock today. I'm not even, well, we could maybe get something off the weekly here. Nope. You have to go to the monthly, take a look at the activity in the stock. You blew through 200 here. On the monthlies, 238.50, the high back in September of 2011. I'm a momentum guy. I'm going with the momentum. It's going to 238.50 today.
You're going to go with the momentum for once. Maybe we got to fade you then, because he's usually the fader. We call him Joel Fader. But here, he's jumping on the momentum bandwagon, and that is what this market has been, Joel. It really is. It's all about sentiment. When stocks are in favor, they seem to stay in favor for a long, long time. When stocks are out of favor, they stay out of favor for a long, long time. It's all trading off of sentiment. Valuations don't seem to matter here anymore. You can look at Netflix and you can say, oh, well, it's got, a PE multiple of 100 or whatever it's got. Amazon's been the same story for the last couple of years. Basically, same story, just the PE multiple doesn't really make any sense from a fundamental perspective. But, from a technical perspective and from sentiment, and they're all trading off of sentiment right now, the sentiment is positive and the sentiment's good out there. The stocks seem to go higher. Like, bring up the chart of Apple here, Joel. We'll take a look at that one too. Obviously, from a valuation perspective, we've been saying it seems to be cheap from a valuation. But from a trading perspective, it's all about sentiment. And sentiment is not good on Apple. It hasn't been good for the last 6 months. Stock continues to disappoint. It is back up above 400 with a little pre-earnings run. But I'll tell you, if Apple, beats a little bit, I don't think it rallies $50. I don't think it has it in it. But I bet you if it misses by a little bit, it could fall like 30 or $40. So it's just that, it's all trading off sentiment now.
Right. We did hit 404.45 in the pre-market. We did that during just in the last 15, 20 minutes. Resistance point at 405.79. That was Thursday's high, so we'll use that parameters. Coming back on the downside, we jumped up to 400. We've been holding that. The close at 398.67. You got to imagine that anyone's been playing this from the short side going into earnings here. Bid 470 over a month ago, back over 400. You think you might want to lock in a few gains here, coming in that on the short side. Coming on the upside, if you guys are playing this off the number and you get a pop up to 419,
Yep.
Boy, there are a lot of people bought at 419 and 420. I think that would be a bogey, a short-term target on the upside if we do get that earnings pop.
I think so too. I think that 419 is absolutely enormous. So that's a number I'll be watching after hours too. Obviously, you got to analyze what the fundamentals are. I mean, if they really blow the numbers away or announce anything with that cash, I don't even think it matters what the numbers. People want to hear about what you're doing with your cash. That's really what they're waiting for. Obviously, Cook hasn't, said enough about it, and that's why the stock continues to drift lower, 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 despite that cheap multiple.
When did they do it? If they were going to do something with the cash, when did they do it? today. I mean, they don't do a lot of stuff in between quarters. They don't
You'd
provide a whole
think.
lot of guidance. You think if they were gonna give this thing a little bit of a boost, it would be today.
I mean, that's the one thing, that's the one bogey. We've always said, the sentiment's down on Apple, and obviously, trader is out of favor. I do think it could turn in a hurry if they announced, some type of special dividend, or if they announced an increase in their common dividend too. They're still sitting there with all that cash, so something is eventually going to happen there. And I think when it does happen, the stock could get that potential to get a decent lift off of it. But until they do something with that cash, I just think it's dead money. But stocks turn, and sentiment can turn. We saw it with Best Buy last year. We saw it with Hewlett Packard. Everybody had those stocks for dead, and then boom, basically they doubled in the first 3-4 months of this year. So stocks can turn, and sentiment can turn in a hurry. And if you can identify when it turns, it can give you a pretty decent opportunity. Check out the chart on Caterpillar, just talking about sentiment turning. I think this might be one of those times where possibly it's turning for the cat. If we look at yesterday's trading, and I'm going to talk just specifically about yesterday, when it cut through the $80 level, if you can bring up yesterday's, there we go. If we bring up yesterday's chart here, you can see right off, if just rewind it just a little bit there, Joel, if you can back it up, perfect. Obviously the stock had earnings, it popped up, it was holding the $80, and then around 11 o'clock, you see the cut-throughs in the pre-market, but that wasn't during the regular session. During the regular session, it took out that $80 level, got down to 79.5. But then the stock found a bed, started rallying, got back up through 80, never looked back, rallied $2.50. The rally continues here this morning because JP Morgan is upgrading Caterpillar, so it's up another buck here too. So just like that, you've got a $4.50 rally in Caterpillar in less than one trading session.
Yeah, I was talking to you during the trading session, and you did catch. There was a huge institutional bid at 80. You caught it the first time there, and I know you got a nice bounce on it. I believe it was right here. You had to have been pretty brave to buy the 80.11. But just to take a note to traders that we provide you with intraday levels. And a lot of times, it goes through a major level like a 3 or 4 star here. If I was doing numbers on the cat, you had a double bottom there. I mean, once those numbers are taken out, they're still relevant.
Yep.
I mean, they're still a reference point. You had all the people that, chomped on that $80 bid here. And, of course, when if they're trained as short term, they got a half a point on it. It might have an opportunity to cover. But just got to use those numbers not only for the immediate day trade, but also from a longer term perspective. The cat is following through this morning. We'll just take a quick technical look at that. Kissed the $84 level. That's a nice round number. And if you look at the dailies here, you did have a high at 84.33 on the 15th. So might take a little breather here. But a close over 84 here, and the cat may be on the prowl.
Yeah, I think it is on the prowl, and I think you've caught those traders. I think you had a few people that were trying to short it through the 80. They had that bogey. It cut through 80. You scared out those people that were picking the double bottom, so you scare out the short-term logs. Maybe catch a few people shorting it through 80. It popped fairly quickly yesterday, so that's how bottoms are formed, is when you catch those few people shorting it, you knock out the last of the logs. And I think they did that yesterday, and I think that's why we've seen the recent turn here in the Caterpillar. So $80, you're right, Joel, and you always say this on the show, and I'll give you props, that those numbers are still relevant because sometimes they'll cut through it, but then it pops back, and you can actually sometimes have an opportunity to buy it as it's coming back through that big number. So, and that would have worked very well with Caterpillar yesterday if you had said, okay, well, it's cutting through, but if it comes back up over 80, I'm going to get long the thing, and that's exactly what happened. If you got long it coming back on the upside, you're now up $3.76. So there's lots of ways to play around those numbers.
Also, if you did have that 80 in there, when it popped back above it, it only snuck through it, by like a dime. So that would have been enough, enough heat for you to take there if you would have.
I would have even been able to take that heat. So yeah, I wish I would have been smart enough to. I bought it long the first time. I made 50 cents on initial pop. It cut through the 80, and I didn't practice what I'm preaching right now, because after it cut through, I kind of moved on and never looked at it again. And I wish, obviously, when it cut back through that, I would have actually got long it again. So something to keep in mind with those numbers is you're exactly right. Even though they cut through it, they are still relevant. Few other ones here to talk about too, Joel. Lots of earnings to talk about. We've got DD DuPont reported earnings here this morning. A buck 56. Oh, you're going to bring up the Deere chart, but if you want, we can do a technical on Deere. But DD, I was talking about $1.56 versus $1.53. Stock is trading up here a bit in the pre-market off of those earnings. It's up about 35 cents right now, trading at 50.74.
Yep, in the pre-market here, we did get a pop to 51.02. That's a pre-market high. We've pulled back 30 cents from that level. All-time high has been exceeded at 50.74, or at least the recent high.
Yeah.
So you're trading at yesterday's high, a little bit of resistance. Keep an eye, might be some paper kicking around at the $51 level. But hey, if no, it's not an all-time high. But above 51, you do have a reference point. 51.48 was the high in September of last year.
That $51 level is the bogey I'm using. There is some institutional size there. I think there's about 65,000 shares kicking around there at 51. So that could put an initial lid on it. If it takes out that 51 level, then obviously it can probably move higher. But I don't know on this one. It's not like everybody's jumping all over. It's only 18,000 shares traded. It's up 30 cents. So I don't think this is going to be one of those stocks that rallies $2 or $3 on their earnings report. There is some rallying $2 or $3 on their earnings report, and this one's rallying a lot more than that. COH is up $7 right now on its earnings report. Coach having a great quarter, beat by 3 cents, 84 versus 81. But we're in this whole gap area, and we always talk about the gaps. And when stocks start trading those gap areas, they go through them very, very quickly. And this is exactly what you're seeing in the Coach. If we go back to if you could just go back, if you can go back a little bit further. Actually,
I just want to grab the pre-market high 57.99. But let's take a look at the dailies here. The dailies don't do you any good. You got to go to the weeklies. Looking at the you had this whole vacuum area here.
Yeah, I still can't see it on that chart actually there, Joel. There you go. But we had this big gap down day from $60. It was back. I'm just trying to grab the date of it actually. The 23rd of January, where we went basically from $60 down to $50 in one day, gapping down. Well, we're trying to go right back through all that today here. 57.45 is where it's trading on. 764,000 shares. It's basically all air up $2 more really when I look at this chart. I'm not saying it's going to do that, but it's trading like air everywhere in here.
Yeah, nice round number like 60 could provide some resistance. As you look from the gap down day on the 22nd, you got a gap from 52.44 to 59.86. So going smack right up to that $60 level, that could provide you some resistance. But this will be a fun chart to look at on Monday with the gap area. But that's what this market
that's the new thing.
Market tends to do.
That's the new thing, filling a gap with a gap, it seems like, and that's what it is trying to do here again. Tiffany's getting a little sympathy move here too. Tiffany's often does move off of Coach earnings. It's trading up a buck here in the pre-market at $72. Very light volume, only 360 shares. Looking at the high there on Tiffany, it got up to 74.20 there about a week and a half ago. I don't think it's going to get that high here today, but definitely be aware that Tiffany's probably going to have a sympathy move off the Coach earnings.
Yeah, before that 74.20 high, you had a high on April 12th at 73.29. So those are a couple levels to keep an eye on Tiffany's.
Got a couple other Dow components that reported here this morning. United Technologies, which is UTX, reported earnings of $1.39 versus $1.30. This initially popped, Joel, but now it's dropping actually. So it's actually trading down 60 cents right now after getting an initial pop. That pop up to $95. Is that what I see? Or no? What's the high there you've got? UTX? Maybe.
Let's see here. No, I don't have. Yep. Yeah, boy, 100 shares. Little old lady from Pasadena covering her short at $95 at 7:45 this morning. So not really a reference point here. Very little volume. 93 is where it's just resting here in the pre-market. With that kind of activity, you got to take a look at the dailies. 92.54 was yesterday's low. We'll use that as a support point. After that, they're pretty well defined, 91.72. And then the recent low of the move, 91.25, provided a double bottom because you had a low at 91.29 on March 27th. So coming back on the upside, 94 should be good resistance. 94.06 was yesterday's high.
Travelers Group reported earnings to 231 versus 202. Who buys this stock at 89.40 this morning? 300 shares trading up there at 89.40. A bunch more trade in the 88 handle. The stock is now in the 86 handle. So, I mean, this is a big stock. Travelers Group, for it to move $5. I know they beat big time by 231 versus 202, so they beat by 29 cents. But wow, that is an aggressive buyer to buy it up at 89.40, up over $5, because now it's only up $1.50.
Paint the tape, buddy. Come on.
Paint
Didn't
the
I
tape.
teach you anything?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just give me an offer. Print it. Who cares if you're long like 47 million
Yeah,
shares
I suppose
and you
you're
get a
right.
chance to get an 89.60 print up there? You know, all the people that are short are freaking out.
Yeah,
so,
you know
I mean,
what?
That's what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a lot to that sometimes. Joe's exactly right. If you're long like 40, 50,000 shares, 100,000 shares of this thing, and you want to make it look like scary for everybody that's short in the pre-market, make it trade up at 89.40. Buy it up there, 100 shares or 200 shares. I think stuff like that does occur, and I think you might be right. If somebody wanted to go higher, they drive it up as high as they can in the pre-market, and maybe some of the people in the regular session follow suit. Doesn't seem to be holding for very long today though, because it's already down. It's already back at $86.
Right. Very important level to keep an eye on, though, if you're trading travelers here. Double top from the 15th and 16th at 86.60 and 86.61. You're 60 cents away from there, so you have a good reference point on the first time up. Not sure if there's a seller kicking around at that area, but definitely got a reference point on the upside. Longer term, I believe this is at or near all-time highs for travelers. So 86.61, if you're trying to sell the top there, put your order in at 62, and you might have the all-time high for a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be careful though. If it does take out that $86-$60 level there, obviously we know it has traded quite a bit higher here in the pre-market, painting the tape or not painting the tape. There's probably going to be quite a bit of air below, because we know the high frequency guys, especially off the bat on the earning stocks, they don't like to make markets. They like it to settle down before they make markets. And we saw, what Pepsi done, off their earnings. We saw what Coke did. These stocks have good earnings. They start breaking out to new all-time highs. They can run for a couple of bucks. So, and you could find yourself down in a hurry. So it's always scary to fade. If you're going to do it, make sure you're pretty quick at getting out too, because this stock could trade 86.60 and then boom, take out the all-time high and be at $88 before you blink your eyes. So got to be careful when you're shorting the rocket ships too. A couple other ones here. Texas Instruments reported last night, Joel, 32 cents versus 30. Stock is trading up here about 19 cents, $35 right now. So what did it do after hours there? Do we got the after hours chart, Joel, in Texas Instruments?
You sure do there. You got a high at 35.79 on the initial spike, but you got some good reference points here in the stock. That 35.79 high.
Yeah.
Coincides with several highs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 highs at the beginning of the month between 35.72 and 35.92. So holy smokes, you sniffed it in the pre-market. Take an eye up there. There's probably a seller kicking around at 36. That's going to be good resistance. You take that, you're back off to the races. Looking at the intraday chart, just kind of wallowing here around 35. Pre-market spike low was 34.25.
Lots of earnings. We can't go into them all because we're going to run short on time, but you had Lockheed Martin, LMT, which beat 233 versus 203. It's up a couple of bucks. You had Reynolds, RAI, beat 72 cents versus 69 cents. You also had Xerox XRX beating 27 cents versus 24 cents. And a ton of other ones too, smaller ones. So we can't go into them all. Obviously, you have Apple and AT&T tonight. We're just running too short on time here. But just one other one I wanted to talk about is Bank America here, Joel, because it's getting an upgrade at Morgan Stanley here this morning. It is getting a lift here in the pre-market. It's trading up 18 cents, and I noticed a lot of your financials here have been trading up here this morning. I know we're up 7 points in the S&P, so everything's up a bit, but I noticed the financials seem to be showing some life too. Bank America upgrade probably helping it.
The pop in the pre-market here went to 11.95, currently trading at 11.88. Looking at the dailies here, this thing is recovered from trading down to 11.23 only a few days ago, coming back up to the $12 level. I believe 12.02 was the high when they released earnings, 11.95 high in the pre-market. That should be good resistance. Above that, you have a small gap to fill till 12.08, but I think it might take a little while. I just don't think it's going to hop, skip, and jump through the $12 level.
That's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading day, and we will be back with you to analyze the Apple earnings tomorrow.